Welcome to the Carnivore Cast, the podcast focused on the carnivore diet and lifestyle, with practical advice from successful carnivores, citizen scientists, and top researchers. I'm your host, Scott Myslinski, and I'm here to speak with experts and experienced carnivores to get answers to your biggest and meatiest questions while helping you live your best life as a carnivore. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the Carnivore Cast on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you'll help us reach more people and continue to create content on carnivore. There are also exclusive perks available, such as private Q&As, consultations with me, and more. Become a supporter at patreon.com/carnivorecast. Check the episode description for the link. Thank you, and I'll see you there. This episode is brought to you by Electrolytes. We know that salt, potassium, and magnesium are essential minerals, especially for those on carnivore, keto, and low-carb diets to relieve hunger, dizziness, cramps, headaches, and keep so many of your bodily processes running optimally, including sleep, brain and mental health, hormonal health, your heart, immunity, and more. Electrolytes are convenient, evidence-based, and delicious. My wife and I have been using LMNT for years, every single day. They're great for fueling hard workouts, getting adapted and beating keto flu, fasting, traveling with them, and kickstarting your day with energy. They're used by Navy SEALs, Olympic weightlifters, jiu-jitsu athletes, and everyday people who want to make themselves better, like you and me. They're also founded by superhero Rob Wolf. LMNT is offering free, that's right, free people, LMNT sample packs to Carnivore Cast listeners. All you have to do is pay for shipping. Go to drinklmnt.com/carnivorecast to claim this awesome deal. That's drinklmnt.com/carnivorecast, one word, and I'll include a link in the show notes. Colt Milton is a carnivore bodybuilding coach, a proud dad and husband, and co-owner of Superset Your Life, which includes awesome custom gym attachments, merchandise, and an incredible podcast with his wife, Taylor Milton, who also joins me. She's the CEO of Skullbells. And on their podcast, they discuss, debate, rant, and interview featured guests, including myself in a past episode on developing a healthy, purpose-filled lifestyle. Welcome to the show, Colt and Taylor.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. So I've talked to you both a lot and follow your story very closely, but I don't know how familiar my audience is. So what's your health story? How did you get to where you are today?
Well, yeah. So we met at Eastern Washington University. Both of us were college athletes and playing hockey together. And we decided that our direction that we were going in school wasn't really serving our future and what we believed that God was calling us to do. And so we were like, okay, let's make some changes. So we've always been really entrepreneurial, and we were talking about ideas of opening up like everything from steakhouses to jazz clubs to you name it. And then finally we moved to Seattle to pursue more business opportunities and tried a number of e-commerce opportunities and whatnot. Things worked for a while we were there, and then COVID hit, and our whole life pretty much got turned upside down. Up through then, I'd done a handful of bodybuilding competitions. I think I did 8 natural drug-tested shows, and all of them were with a meat-based diet, but very high in carbs. So I would say that carbs were my primary fuel source throughout all those shows. Tried keto, tried if it fits your macros, and then wasn't able to really get super competitive until I hired a coach. And he had me cut out sugar. He had me really clean up my diet, held me accountable. When you have all these emotions going through you and you're pushing yourself harder than anything that you've ever done in your life, like it gets really easy to fake it, to say, oh, I've earned a cheat day, or, oh, I think that I can, I think that my diet needs this, or I feel like I need this. Having that outside perspective is really important. So that's what brought us up to about when COVID hit. That last show, I didn't even want to do that one. I was so burnt out, and my wife was like, you can do this. You're so close to becoming, and she called my coach and was like, let's make this happen for Colt. And I was like, okay, guys, I don't know what I'd do without you. So we flew to Edmonton. I got second place again. So
Yeah. Well, we knew you were going to be taking a few years off. So we're like, might as well just go out with a bang. We were like, I was literally like 2 or 3 weeks away from delivering our daughter. And we flew over there and he did amazing. But his body was ready for a break because it was 3 straight years of competing.
Yeah. I started to lose some muscle by that point too, just from staying shredded for so long, and having that many carbs in my diet just wasn't really serving me well enough at that point. So after the pandemic hit, I lost my corporate job. And so we went all in with personal training, online training.
Skull bells. That's when Skull Bells started.
And Skull Bells. Yeah. So we were training bodybuilding competitors and people that want similar results, which is based, bodybuilding, right? It's by definition, it's more muscle, less fat, building something, making it look aesthetic. And whether it's somebody that wants to step on stage or not, that's been really what our niche is, and having a health first approach.
Yeah.
So we went all in with that, went all in with inventing our patented skull dumbbells, skull curl bars, and skull cable attachments. And so those are 3 really good products that have really been taken off. We've been focusing on the cable attachments right now. And then after 6 months of doing that, actually, it was right around when we started. I just had this thought. I was like, you know what? I've heard so many things about the carnivore diet. Why have I not given that one a try? I've tried just about everything else. And the trend was I kind of kept eliminating more and more foods the more that we went on. First thing you do is clean up and cut sugar. And then you go, okay, if I take it a step further, I could go paleo, and then that's a little more restrictive. And I take it a step further, I could cut out carbs altogether, basically keto. And then I was like, well, I'm basically almost doing this just straight up carnivore diet without even any vegetables or anything. And so let me just give that a try, because I just felt the better and better the more that I restricted my diet personally. As you know, a lot of people are moderators, and a lot of people, if you tell them that they can't have sugar, they'll lose their mind. I have a bite of sugar and I lose my mind. I can't really stop. And so I found it much more sustainable to be able to use a meat-based diet, and both of us find it a lot more sustainable to have rules that we stick with and that we adhere to. And we really don't have cheat days where we eat things that aren't in our meal plan. Our cheat days is having a really nice steak, or having a really nice, what are we having tonight? Pork tenderloin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had chicken a couple nights ago. So
nice.
Pretty much good right now.
That's awesome. How about you, Taylor? How have you found the diet? How did it evolve for you?
So like I said, we had our last baby 2 years ago, like the 24th of November. And after we had moved here, after we moved to Vancouver from Seattle, which was August of 2020, I was finally at the point, because I had a C-section with her, where I was ready to start losing the baby weight, getting back into shape, because I've been an athlete my entire life. And both of my pregnancies were really hard. And it just kind of took over my life at a point where I just didn't even recognize myself anymore. And I had preeclampsia with our son. So I gained a bunch of weight with him. I never really lost it. And then I got pregnant like 9 months later. So it was just back-to-back pregnancies. And so I was like ready. I was ready to get back to the gym and to just feeling better. And I think we went keto that August of 2020. I think that's when you started carnivore, but that's when I started keto. And I was keto basically up until a few months ago, but I didn't start working out until January-ish. And then between January and now, I've lost almost 50 pounds, which is awesome. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's been amazing. And I went carnivore 2 months ago, I think. Because I just like a higher protein diet to begin with. Like I liked keto, but I like carbs aren't a problem. I like carbs, but not having carbs aren't a problem for me. And I really enjoy just high protein. That was a hard part for keto, was I couldn't eat high protein. So Colt was like, yeah, you should just try carnivore for a few weeks and see how you like it. And I love it. So I've never felt better. I'm never bloated. I like, my digestion is really good. My mental clarity is there. So
hair loss is better.
Yeah, I had some pretty crazy hair loss, which I now think was due to having COVID. I've now noticed that there's a trend that it's a long symptom of having COVID. But I did have some hair loss like throughout the summer, which I thought was from the weight loss, but But since then though, since I went carnivore, I've noticed that's like I have a ton of regrowth happening. So yeah, it's been good.
I think getting out of long-term chronic ketosis for you was a good move.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and here we are.
Very cool. And it sounds like, do you both find a higher protein version of the diet works well for you, or do you need to like supplement fat? How does that work?
We both eat higher fat in the beginning of the day. So like, and we end the day on a lower fat, really high protein. So like for my breakfast, I'll have like ground beef, and then I really like just cooking it with some cauliflower rice and then some marinara and throwing in a lot of goat cheese to make it really creamy.
Nice.
So a really high fat and high protein meal. I know you do something similar, don't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we just, as the day goes by, we kind of get lower in the fats.
Things like pork, eggs, we'll have those towards the front end of the day. So my macros right now by the end of the day are about 450 grams of protein, no carbs, and about 80, 90 grams of fat.
Okay.
And I like doing that. That's kind of been the sweet spot, because then I can train fasted in the morning with a protein shake, a little bit of just like something to get the protein stimulus going, and a whole bunch of salt too, and get those electrolytes in there. Give all my supplements something to like some fats to digest with, and maybe like a little bit of ground beef or something. But I mean, for the most part, pretty fasted. And then I'll have a long workout. I found that with a high protein, with the keto diet, I find that I can work out like pretty much any time during the day, and it's a lot more flexible. The only way that I've personally found out how to make the high protein approach work is having a lot of lean protein right before bed, because then all that extra protein gets converted to carbohydrates by a process called gluconeogenesis. And then the protein becomes my fuel the next day. But it's such a long digestive and kind of an inefficient metabolic process, which is fine because I'm asleep. It's not like I'm doing anything. I wake up a little groggy sometimes, like more so than on keto, but it's worth it because I think the benefits, at least for me, I've found the benefits to outweigh the downsides. So I'll wake up in the morning I'm full of glycogen, like I had carbs the night before, because it basically just got converted to carbs anyway. I'll wake up, have a little bit of food, do my office work, and then take my pre-workout, crush my workout. And then after that, have a higher fat, moderately high protein meal with about 80 to 90 grams of protein. For me, I know for most people that's pretty high, but for me, that's not. Have a decent amount of fat in that meal, because that's the least likely time that I'm going to store fat, and then keep my insulin levels fairly low throughout the day. That fat is very, very good brain fuel. So then I'm more productive throughout the rest of the second half of the day on my computer in the shop, more active with my kids and everything. And so my energy is pretty good. If I go like over 100 grams of protein, then I think it bumps up my insulin too much and I kind of crash it. So then I have all the rest of my protein pretty close to bed because of the gluconeogenesis process and becoming my fuel for the next day. And it's all lean protein, so it really can't get stored as fat. So
yeah, that's a really cool approach.
Thanks.
Yeah, and he just went through a carnivore bodybuilding like mock prep because he's going to compete in 2022, and so he wanted to see how his body did. So he did that. Yeah, so far through the summer, right? So far we've been getting a lot of criticism. People say that you need carbs to build muscle, and it's just not true. You need a stimulus. You need water. You need protein, and you need rest, and that's about it. You don't. There's no place that carbs have that specifically add to building muscle other than fueling your body. Yeah. But if you get that fuel from somewhere else, as long as you're getting enough, it doesn't really matter where you get it. Like I'm eating just as much calories and just as much food as anybody else is trying to build muscle right now. Yeah. But it just, for me, it just happens. Carbs don't happen to be a part of it because it's not sustainable.
Thanks to Bioptimizers for sponsoring the show. And I'm really excited to tell you guys about an excellent deal they're offering this November. This is the biggest blowout deal they will be offering all year. So if there's a time to stock up, it is now. What they're offering is over $200 worth of free gifts and a huge discount all month long on their Magnesium breakthrough products. Their Magnesium Breakthrough is a full spectrum magnesium supplement that includes 7 unique forms of magnesium for stress relief, better sleep, and mental health, all in one bottle. They're offering all sorts of awesome free gifts and products worth over $200 with select purchases. All month long, they're offering 10% off using my unique code. And you can only get this exclusive deal through my link, special for you listeners. You won't find it on Amazon or even the Bioptimizer's website. Go to magnesiumbreakthrough.com/carnivore and use code carnivore to get your discount and free gifts today. Thanks so much and have a great day. Yeah, I mean, you look great. So it's clearly working really well for you. And it sounds like you have a very intelligent approach to managing not only the bodybuilding, but also your health and your energy levels for all the important entrepreneurial ventures you're doing. So I really like that approach. And you mentioned you have children. So how do they eat? How do you feed your family?
I mean, we let them so we don't have any sugar in our house. So they don't eat sugar unless we're at our family's house, because people think it's hilarious to give children sugar for some reason. But it's like my sisters and everybody's favorite thing to do is give our kids sugar. So we save it for that time. And I mean, they eat for breakfast, I'll do toast and eggs because they both really like bread right now. But our daughter is less picky than our son. I think it's because he's older and he's 3.5. And so he knows what he likes more, but our daughter literally eats anything. She eats salad. She eats all kinds of meat. I mean, she eats everything. So, I mean, her diet's not really specific. James definitely sticks with chicken. He loves beef. Colt has given him beef heart and what else a few times.
It grosses out Taylor. So if she's not around, I'll give him raw deer heart and whatever.
He eats it. I'm I don't know. Yeah. And it's half the time I can get the kid to eat anything besides yogurt, but yeah, I mean, our kids' diet, it's very similar to ours, but they definitely eat carbs more than we do. But we try to keep the carbs to sweet potatoes, and then I do Ezekiel bread.
That's great. That's awesome. That sounds like
and a
really
lot
balanced.
A lot of fat. We do a really high fat diet with them because neither of them drink milk. They just never have liked it, and so we just need to make sure we're getting them fat for their brain health. So they eat better. And James loves protein shakes, so we'll make him a peanut butter protein shake with half cream and half macadamia nut milk. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Sounds delicious. and do you think it's helped their behavior or their energy to eat this way?
Yeah. Because we really both notice a big difference. If we're at family's house or whatever, someone else gives them even specifically sugar, they both act just crazy. They have a sugar crash.
And then they don't sleep well. Then they wake up angry the next day.
It's just a cycle that isn't fun to deal with.
Not good for anybody.
No. And they eat fruit and stuff every day. But we don't sugar we don't give them. But we can really tell a difference because we're really in tune with what they eat and how they act. So yeah, it definitely makes a difference.
That's cool. And how did you get into coaching? How did that begin? And what types of people do you help?
Yeah, started with bodybuilders, competitive bodybuilders that were doing the same thing that I was doing, that really just wanted to compete. And then you do what everybody does to start is you coach a couple people for free, and then you have to stop doing that really quick because then when you
realize how much time it actually takes,
run out of time really quick. Yeah, and so then started charging what the actual transformation was worth and what it was worth to them, and then just take it one step at a time, and word of mouth starts to spread. But yeah, it's something to where how they say that you relive your childhood through your kids. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, stepping on stage and accomplishing something is fun, but eventually it's okay, another trophy, okay, another show. And then when you can relive the experience through somebody else, it's almost like it's 10 times more fun and 10 times more rewarding, and the reason that I compete isn't to live up to somebody else's expectations. It's the judges' critiques are really important, but not because I care about their opinion. Their opinions are helpful, but I want, we believe that our bodies are a temple. So we want to steward that and show gratitude for the bodies that we've been given while we have them. And that includes taking care of them, making sure they look good and not abusing them. So that's what competing really means to us is optimizing that the best that we can and being able to teach somebody else how to do the same thing without obsessing over what place they get, without pushing their body to the extreme by abusing drugs and turning into something that's unhealthy and narcissistic. That's been our approach and what we think the sport really should be.
Yeah.
Really, like I say we, because we work together, but Colt's the trainer. But we really love working with women who are like, maybe post kids in like the 30 to 50 year range, just because we feel like we relate to them really well. I don't know. And Colt works so well with males and females, but I think he just has like this thing about him where when he's working with a gal, like he just connects well and they trust him. And
women are so coachable.
Yeah.
Guys argue. They think that they have a better approach and stuff. And
yeah.
The ladies, it's like their communication over email is great. It's like they do the plan just like it's written down.
Yeah, we love our clients, all of them. They're awesome.
That's cool. That's great. And you've had some like amazing transformations with your clients. And we were messaging Colt that some of the results you've seen with Carnivore. Can you talk a little bit about how you've done that and some of the results you've seen?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for asking. I guess the first one, just right off the top of her head, should be Dana. She's in Ohio. She heard about us on Robert Sykes' show, the Keto Savage podcast, when we were interviewed there, and started following us. And then so we connected on Instagram, just kind of talked here and there for like a year. All three of us did. And then eventually she asked about coaching. So we started her on the carnivore diet.
A few months ago.
5 or 6 weeks ago. Yeah, something like that. And just the straight high protein approach. So basically the same macros that I'm doing that right now, that's what she's doing. And that's what's working the best for everybody. Like literally the people that are getting the best results are the ones that are eating nothing but steak every single day. and I feel best when I eat nothing but steak every single day. It's just the only reason why I'm not right now is because I just can't justify the cost. Like, it's like, man, like I could be eating steak every day, or we could put in a supplement order. We could get this merchandise order going. We could, like I could do something nice for my wife. It's like, man, like it's hard to justify that much steak. So I'm getting by with a lot of pork and chicken and just eggs, kind of random stuff right now. But if somebody can do steak every day, good quality source steak, I mean, your digestion is great. You feel great. Sleep is great. Your libido is great. I mean, just it's a superfood. It really is. Just like what Sean Baker says in his book, The Carnivore Diet.
Yeah.
So that's basically what she's doing. And she has some other meats here and there too. But I would say that's what over half of all of our clients are doing, and they're all building muscle and losing fat at the same time.
Yeah.
And the brain fog goes away. I mean, all the benefits that you talk about on your show that just got me curious enough to want to try it myself. But yeah, Dana she started off, her first week was great. Second week she got COVID, and that lasted about 2 weeks. And so she's just getting back into it now and had the best workout week of her life.
Yeah, she's so excited
these last few days. And she just texted us this morning and she's like, I want to do a bodybuilding competition. We just started laughing. We're like, we called it. We knew you'd eventually want to.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, because she's like mid-30s, done having kids. And so she was just like kind of at that hormonal, like, I can't lose any more weight. She'd lost 65 pounds on keto. Just hit a plateau. So she came to us looking to kind of beat that plateau. And boy, did she.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that have been on keto for a while and they hit a plateau, it's just something that is so different because the fats are so low, but like they're still reasonable. Because like if I was eating 450 grams of protein, 90 grams of fat, 0 grams of carbs, that's what I'm eating right now, right? If I was to switch that up into 225 protein, 225 carbs, 90 grams of fat, my calories would be the same, but I promise you I would get fat. It's just if I eat that much fat, Yeah, no, I got shredded when I was when I was doing high carbs because my fats were 10, 20 grams a day.
Wow.
And they were high on my off days. And so my off days, I would have no carbs and I would have like 90 to 100 grams of fat. So that's actually pretty similar to what we do with our carnivores, is what we call them. We're probably not the first ones to come up with that term, but essentially what it is, it's a meat-based diet, but also very high in carbs on training days. So Lawrence, for his last bodybuilding competition, that's what we did with him, and did a very similar diet with Todd, our guy that has scoliosis. He's been 5% body fat for 2 months now. And
I don't even know how he's maintaining that.
Yeah, like that's why I call him every day. I'm like, "Are you doing okay? You doing okay?" Like, he's like, "Yep, still building muscle." I'm like, "Okay." And
he is so excited.
He's getting jacked now. Yeah, no, he's just super vascular. Every time I'm around him, he lives at a distance, and so when I go up to coach him or when he comes to work out with me, I'm just like taking videos of him the whole time. Like, dude, like I can't stop, man. Like every muscle and every vein right now. This is crazy. But
yeah, he's gonna compete too. He wants to compete.
Yeah, he does. So we're gonna get him on stage too. But basically, with when the carbs are in the equation, that makes things more complicated. And so you got to be more disciplined with it. But what we've been doing is that first meal, it's kind of the same pattern. That first meal is high fat when his insulin is low because he wakes up and there's no carbs in it. So we get his fats in there. Second meal is lean protein, no fats, higher carbs. Third meal is the same thing as the second meal. Takes his pre-workout before his workout, obviously works out like around 4 or 5. And then after that, he has protein and carbs, and then another couple hours of protein and carbs right before bed. So he's more, off the top of my head, I think his macros are around 200 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs, and like 20 grams of fat on his training days. And then on his rest day, he has over 100 grams of fat, 225 grams of protein, and no carbs. So I think his fats are like around 150 actually on his off days. So by the end of the week, he's still getting a decent amount of fat. And that's how we're making sure that his testosterone's good, his hormones are good, brain health and everything is functional. So he's able to burn fat in the mornings, his insulin is low, and he's able to build muscle in the evenings. And he's been keeping that up for 14, 15 weeks now. He's been with us. And he was down 17 pounds of fat and up 7 pounds of muscle. Made an Instagram post a few weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, everybody's seeing good results. Super exciting.
Everybody just needs something different too. Like that's why I love that podcast that you did with Danny Conway a few episodes ago.
Yeah, that was so good.
where she was talking about, some of my clients I have eat carbs, some of my clients I have in keto, and I was like, wow, that's brilliant. I mean, because that's what we do. You know, we felt kind of weird because we're like, we're not really the carnivore coach. We're not really the keto coaches. It's like we know everything, and so we don't know everything. We know a little bit of everything, and so we just teach whatever we're experienced with, depending on the person. And
whatever they want to do.
Yeah, some people do great on carbs. Some people do a lot better without it. So
yeah, That's really cool. Right tool for the right job. And I guess where have you learned so much about like how to do your own bodybuilding, like tweaking? I know you posted about your like mock peak, which is really cool. Colt, has a lot of that come from Robert Sykes and Keto Savage, or like how have you gotten some of that knowledge?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really respect about Robert is he literally just shares all of his macros, everything that he's learning. I mean, you kind of learn that about people that are in the carnivore and keto space. I mean, nothing against people that are fans of other diets or anything, but like it seems that like the Biosense guy, Jim Howard, you know, it's the guy the guy that invented the medical grade ketone breathalyzer. People like that, it's just they're so excited to share what they know because they know that this is just groundbreaking. Yeah. This is groundbreaking information, you know, and it's changing lives and people are healthier because of it. And it's new. Like the science is coming out. The carnivore diet isn't new. That's how our ancestors ate. But the science and the studies are way behind where they should be. So now as they're catching up, you know, people like Robert and people like Jim and people like you really just want to share this kind of stuff. And, we don't really care who gets the credit. I think that's the cool culture about what we see in the carnivore and the keto space. So as far as our information and where we learn this kind of stuff, it's it's listening to your podcast. It's diving into books like The Carnivore Diet. I'm just looking at my shelf right now. Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson.
Yep.
And not just reading it verbatim, but looking up the studies and making sure that they know what they're talking about and doing my due diligence too. Just like you helped me. I think I asked you that when you were on our show. I was like, how do you research this kind of stuff? And so that was a while ago. I asked you that question. So ever since you told me that, I've been, I've been doing my due diligence too, to make sure that what we're doing for ourselves. First of all, we're living it. And so we're experiencing it. Everything that we teach is stuff that we've obviously done.
Yeah.
But making sure that like long-term, okay, is this healthy? Is this sustainable? Stuff like that.
And also like getting checkups on ourselves too, because a lot of people are like freaked out about our cholesterol and our heart health and all this stuff. And I just had a ton of blood work done like a few weeks ago. And like my blood glucose level is lower than it's been in my entire life. And all of like the different cholesterol levels, I don't even know what they are, but they're all like great ranges. I go see a naturopath doctor who I love. And like internally, I'm like the healthiest I've ever been. So, which is super exciting.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And, he had his done a few months ago as well, and everything was good. So, yeah.
That's great. And talk a little bit about Superset Your Life and what it's all about. Can you talk about the brands, what you're trying to achieve with it, some stuff you've done lately?
Sure. Yeah. So when it comes to going to the gym, there's people that go for strength. There's people that go for functionality. There's people that go because their doctor told them to go. There's people that go because they want to look a certain way. We're the last one. We focus on aesthetics. So we teach. So we have 4 pillars. The bottom one is hypertrophy. That's the foundation. And then the first pillar is aesthetics. Second one is strength. Third one is health. And fourth one is purpose. And the reason for that is because Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, the Bodybuilding Encyclopedia, the Bodybuilding Bible, whatever you want to call it, that book is not just a book on bodybuilding. It's a book on it's a success book too. There's a lot of goal setting, and there's a lot of like what are you going to do with the rest of your life because of taking this first step kind of thing. So he's always preached that everything in life is sets and reps. When it comes to acting, when it comes to learning how to do anything else, if you've spent some time in the gym and seen results, it's just so tangible that you can apply that to anything. So the term superset means that what it is in gym terminology, workout terminology, is it's a superset is a pair of exercises that are typically opposites. So we'll just use an example of Arnold's favorite example, which is a bench press and a chin up. One works the chest, one works the back. So they're opposite muscle groups. And nobody really knows why. There's a lot of scientific reasons that kind of all add up and make this happen. But basically, if you do a set of bench and then you do some chin-ups, you go back to do bench, you can bench more. You're pumping up your biceps and your back. And so that gives you a little more leverage on your back. It also sends some neurological signals. The body's very complex. So there's a lot that happens between sets when you alternate between the two. So being kind of methodical, we put our heads together. We're like, you know what? Working out in and of itself is kind of a superset that makes us a better husband or wife, better team, better parents, makes us more engaged in things that are less superficial than the gym and that are more important. So
business life.
Yeah. So that brings us back to our 4 pillars, which is aesthetics. So we focus on aesthetics. That's the goal. We find that most people have a very difficult time going into the gym, being motivated to be healthy. But if you have a goal that it's like, no, I want to look this way by this date, or I have a wedding that I want to get ready for, or I'm going to have some photo shoot. I'm going to go on vacation. Like there's a reason that you want to change the way that you look.
Yeah.
That's something that's more tangible and is more likely to get you out of bed and hold you accountable to that goal. And then the byproduct of that is strength and being healthier and your purpose. And so it all comes down to supersetting your life. But for us, it just happens to focus on aesthetics. Some people set goals around strength. Strength has a part in our programs too, but it's not the focus. I'm actually one of the weakest guys that you'll see in the gym. I try to use the lightest weights and get as much mileage out of them as I can, make sure that the muscle's doing the work and that I'm not hurting myself, not setting myself up for injury. So I'm not the guy that's typically ego lifting or anything.
Yeah. And not just like Colt says, it just kind of, I don't want to use the word oozes. What propels you into every other area of life. So when you get your workout in, generally you feel really good. You might not feel great right after if you worked out really hard, but I don't know anybody who's regretted a workout and who's like, oh man, I really wish I wouldn't have done that.
It's become my therapy. Like if I don't get my workout, I hate rest days. I just feel off on rest days.
He's not a happy person to be around on rest days.
No, I've gotten some, and rightfully so. They're probably right in their accusations, but I've gotten some flack from my in-laws and stuff. And your husband sure spends a lot of time in the gym. Does it bother you how much time it spends? And finally, she was like, it used to, but now it bothers me when he doesn't go to the gym. That's never good.
Yeah. But we just noticed, everybody, when they take control of their health, they start taking control of other areas of their life that they probably need to start looking at and putting more time into, whether that's finances, your job, whether that's relationships with your spouse or your kids or, your faith or whatever. It's like we've found that if you can take control of your fitness, because that's honestly one of the only things you can control in your life, that you can start chipping away at these other areas that sometimes are harder to kind of get the control of. And I don't know, you have a better self-image.
You feel great about yourself, but then it's a domino effect. It's that lead domino. It's like your decisions throughout the rest of the day about what you eat are now based on the fact that you had a workout. Or if you're working out later in the day, you're gonna eat the proper fuel to make sure that you're not bloated and gonna throw it up when you go to the gym. So either way, whenever you're working out, it's a good solid foundation that the rest of the day just kind of hinges on.
Yeah. And our vision with it too, because I think you asked about that, like our plans are with that.
Right.
Is so right now we're personal training full time, and then building our collection of our cable rope attachments, and then hopefully in the next few months we'll get started on our second generation of the dumbbells and the curl bars.
Yeah, I've always
and the straight bars.
She's working on the skull right now, the big skull for the.
There's a few design things that we're having to work around, plus the crazy increase in price of steel and everything.
Yeah, we bought all our steel, those were good there.
Yeah, but we just have to buy a bunch of rubber and so working on those. But our goal is to have an entire set made of curl bars, straight bars, and then dumbbells to put into our gym, because our plan is to open up a gym here. Cool. A classic bodybuilding gym. And thankfully our area doesn't have, I think there's one other small business gym here, right?
There's a big niche for it here.
Yeah. And so, so opening that up hopefully by 2023, but our goal is to self-fund as much as possible with personal training. And so, that's why we're taking the slow route with it, because we don't want to go and take out $100,000 loan. So, and then with that, we have, a really big calling on both of our hearts to help people with eating disorders. And so we're hoping to open up an eating disorder support group through our gym. And then